Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahabushai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who ruled and teach well, and peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and in this video, I'll be profiling an article from news1.com titled, and I'll have to change some of the words in this article so YouTube's algorithms don't take the video down. Career criminal accused of assaulting 8-year-old so-called black child won't stand trial due to state loophole and so-called white privilege, which really isn't white privilege, it's Edomite privilege, because you so-called white people are of the nation of Esau, Edom. And to you so-called black people out there who are really of the tribe of Judah, of the 12 tribes of Israel, you will never see justice in the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, because this is Esau, Edom's final rulership. And until he's taken out of power, expect these things to continue. And also, Jacob and Esau were against each other from the womb. They were never meant to be around each other or get along. They're mortal enemies. This is Genesis chapter 25. I'm going to start at 21. And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. Speaking of the Edomites, the so-called white people, and the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, beginning with their forefathers, Jacob and Esau. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people, meaning 2 nations of people with 2 different dispositions, which you can clearly see. While Israelites right now are messed up and do some pretty foul things, naturally, they have a loving, caring, and pretty much just a chill spirit on them, trying to help everybody when everybody else is not trying to help them. And you Edomites, who are naturally vicious and violent psychopaths who can't do anything but commit any type of criminal act under the sun, shall be separated from thy bowels. And where it says shall be separated from thy bowels means, again, these 2 nations were never meant to come together. They were always meant to be separate and apart, mortal enemies. The one people shall be stronger than the other. Speaking of the Israelites, which is clear to see, just look at the nations of people that dominate the different sports field. And also the Israelites are psychologically stronger than you Edomites, because look at everything that so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans go through, and they still haven't completely broken down. If you Edomites gone through just a little bit of what the Israelites have gone through, you completely would fall apart. And hey, we're seeing it right now with your society collapsing all around you. You're seeing an uptick in suicides and substance abuses. And the elder shall serve the younger. The first to come out was Esau, and the younger to come out was Jacob. So in the end, you Edomites are going to serve the nation of Israel in the kingdom of heaven as slaves. Verse 24, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red, because you Edomites aren't white, you're red. What do they have a term for you so-called white people? Rednecks. And also when you get angry or blush, what do? Your skin shows forth through your blood shows forth through your skin, and you turn red. And also when you get sunburnt, how do you look? Like a cooked hot dog. Red. All over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. And hey, like I said at the beginning of the video, you Israelites or so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans will never find peace while the Edomites are still in power, because for one, we were 2 manners of people separated from the womb, but these Edomites have had a perpetual hatred for you Israelites ever since our forefather Jacob got the blessing and the birthright to the kingdom of heaven from their forefather Esau. This is Genesis 27. I'm going to read verse 38 to 41. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And this took place after Jacob supplanted the blessing to the kingdom of heaven from Esau. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. But here's the point in verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Like I just said, these Edomites have this perpetual hatred towards you Israelites. That's why you constantly see Israelites dying at the hands of Edomites. And every single agenda out there is mainly targeted at you Edomites, at you Islakia, is mainly targeted at you Israelites to wipe you off the face of the earth. This is Ezekiel chapter 35. I'm going to start at verse 1. And what does the header say? Prophesy against Mount Seir. And just like Jerusalem is a people before it's a place, Mount Seir is a people before it's a place. So this chapter is dealing with you Edomites, because Mount Seir was an ancient dwelling place of the Edomites. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. I'm going to jump down to verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. And let's go into that word perpetual. Long duration, antiquity, futurity, forever, ever, everlasting, evermore, perpetual, old, ancient, world, ancient time, long time, of past. Hey, back in Genesis 27, when Jacob supplanted the blessing to the kingdom of heaven from Esau, what did Esau say in verse 41? The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Again, these Edomites have had that sentiment up until this very day. That's why you continue to see these Edomites abusing you Israelites. And it's all based on the spirit. It's not based on skin color or anything like that. That's all just a narrative put out there to confuse the people. Because if you can receive it, there are Israelites that look like Edomites and Edomites that look like Israelites. Look at Tia and Tamara Mowry, for example. Or Jussie Smollett. Those are full-blooded Edomites. Because thou hast had a perpetual, never-ending hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, by the force of the sword, Esau, Edom's blessing. And what's their modern-day sword? The gun. And what do you constantly see? These cops gunning down Israelite men, women, and children down dead in the streets like dogs. And another part of that sword, again, these different agendas they use to take you Israelites out of the way, like putting Planned Parenthood into our neighborhoods to advocate for our women to get abortions, putting poisonous food and water into our communities for our people to eat and drink, and pushing out this hip-hop, black, and thug culture onto our people to further take them away from their power and bug them out and turn them into brute beasts and animals so they can show to the society at large, look, these people are nothing more than thugs and animals. We're justified in taking them out. In the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end, and that's talking about after slavery, hey, you Edomites continued to abuse Jake all the way up until today, such as the things I just mentioned. And then what did you have after slavery? Reconstruction era to the Jim Crow times. You had Black Wall Street and Rosewood, the Civil Rights era, the war on drugs, the prison industrial complex, all the way until this very day, with examples like what we're about to read about in that article on news1.com. Again, career criminal accused of assaulting 8-year-old Israelite child won't stand trial due to state loophole and Edomite privilege. A predominantly Israelite Kentucky community is outraged after a judge dismissed the case of an Edomite man who assaulted and fractured the skull of an 8-year-old child in 2019. That perpetual hatred, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, the days, Salaki, I don't want to paraphrase it. And Esau hated Jacob because of his blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart or his mind, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. A Kentucky community responded in collective outrage after a man was deemed unable to stand trial after he assaulted and fractured the skull of an 8-year-old child with a shovel in 2019. The identity and race of the child remains unknown because of their age, but the incident occurred in a predominantly Israelite neighborhood in Louisville. Social media users claimed the child is an Israelite. On March 11th, Louisville judge Annie O'Connell ruled that Cain Madden, and remember that name, Cain, was mentally incompetent and unlikely to regain competency, dismissing the case under a state law which says that people can only be held or hospitalized against their will if treatment will benefit them, WDRB reports. Community supporters rallied around the child and launched a Change.org petition early last year advocating that Madden remain imprisoned. Why was his right to walk the streets again ever considered more important than the community's constitutional right to have safe and healthy neighborhoods? A statement on the Change.org petition reads, "Children should be safe in their own backyards. Instead, we have a severely abused child who will never be the same. The community now demands that Cain Madden not be released." Prior to the assault case, Madden was found mentally incompetent and released after he sexually assaulted a woman and bit off part of her face in 2017. Judge O'Connell also presided over that case. Madden was hospitalized after, but was released under the Kentucky statute. Months later, he was arrested again for breaking into a business. A judge released him to a hospital, but less than 24 hours after he was discharged, Madden assaulted the young child after finding her playing outside of her home. He was charged with first-degree assault, and for those that are listening to the video, the word I'm replacing assault for is RAPE. Just think about what rhymes with grape. Assault and robbery after he stole the girl's iPad. A psychiatrist who evaluated Madden claims he suffers from profound mental issues, including social incompetence, intermittent explosive disorder, brief psychotic disorder, learning disorder, and PTSD as a result of being abused as a child. But when you understand the scriptures, you know what the ultimate thing he suffers from is being an Edomite that has that perpetual hatred towards his brother, Jacob. Madden also once smeared feces on the wall of a hospital and voiced he wanted to assault women and harm animals and children, according to WDRB. Community members, however, feel their mental health and wellness is at stake without some form of action being taken in spite of the statute. He has a revolving door where he goes to court, said Yolanda Walker with the California Neighborhood Leadership Council. Whatever he does next, I just feel like the judge has blood on her hands. And even though some Edomites have been taken as so-called justice for assaulting Israelites, the reason you've seen a lot of these Edomites get off for doing foul things to the nation of Israel is, for one, again, they're living in their rulership right now. And for two, they're still feeling the effects of their forefather Cain, who the Most High said would be a fugitive in Genesis chapter 4. And what is a fugitive? Someone who runs away and escapes from justice. This is Genesis chapter 4. I'm going to start at verse 1. And Adam knew his wife, and she conceived, and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from Yahweh. And if you can receive it, Cain and Abel are Jacob and Esau in the reincarnation. And as it just said, Cain came out first, and as it says in verse 2, and she again bare his brother Abel. In Genesis 25, what did it say? The first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Esau was born first, then Jacob after. And Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahweh, and Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So even before you Edomites were the nation of Esau, Edom, when you were the Canaanites, you were going off back then. You didn't bring up the right sacrifice to the Most High. And Yahweh said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against his brother Abel, and slew him. And remember what it said in Genesis 27, verse 41, and Esau hated Jacob, because the blessing wherewith his father blessed him, and said, The days of mourning for my father are at hand, and then will I slay my brother Jacob. And when we went to Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 5, it said that the Edomites have a perpetual hatred towards the nation of Israel. And since you Edomites are the Canaanites in the reincarnation, hey, it was no different for Cain and Abel back then, that perpetual violent hatred towards your brother. And Yahweh said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. And we can see that with these Edomites up until this day. Under their rulership, this entire planet has languished. You're seeing animals die off in mass numbers in the sea, the air, and the lands. These Edomites hunt animals to extinction. They spray chemtrails in the sky. They give people GMO foods. There's cell phone and Wi-Fi radiation, which gives people cancer. And they push off these poisonous ideologies that ruins people and their relationships, like democracy, feminism, capitalism, socialism, communism, the alphabet agenda, which begins with LG, etc., etc. And one of the best examples I ever saw of how the earth isn't yielding under the rulership of these Edomites, beginning with Cain, is what was it? It was like a little model once that showed grapes during the ancient time, and it showed two men having to carry the grapes because they were the size of basketballs. And have you seen anything like that today? No. You see grapes the size of a marble coming in clusters that you can hold in one hand. Hey, the earth is definitely languished under and not brought up its yield unto this this fugitive, this vagabond, Esau, Edom, beginning with Cain. As it says, a fugitive, again, someone escaping from justice. Career criminal Edomite accused of assaulting 8-year-old Israelite child won't stand trial due to state loophole and Edomite privilege. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And what's a vagabond? Somebody that doesn't stay in one place and goes from one place to the other. And you Edomites are definitely vagabonds. Instead of staying in the land of Edom, you've migrated all across the planet and spread your wicked philosophies to it. That's why this entire planet and the people on it are lamenting and mourning. As it says in Proverbs 29, verse 2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. You Edomites also steal people's lands. Just look at North America. The Gadites, or so-called Native Americans of the northern kingdom of Israel, were living here. Then you came here, slaughtered a lot of them, and now you're calling yourselves the Native Americans, so to speak. And then look at over in Europe. The Japhites were originally there. Then you took over their lands when you were the Greeks and the Romans. And then the Israelites of the southern kingdom, or the so-called Negroes, were ruling in Europe as the Moors and other monarchs. And then around that time of the Renaissance, you kicked them out and set up shop. And now you're calling yourselves the original Europeans, the British, the French, the Germans, the Swedes, etc., etc. And look at these movies. You got The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, The Last of the Mohicans, The Mexican with Brad Pitt. 300, where they made the Spartans look like Edomites, even though the Spartans were actually Israelites, known as the Lacedaemonians. And look at these period pieces dealing with Egypt. Those Hamites, or so-called Africans, were replaced with Edomites. And Edomites also take people's identities and heritages. Just look at the Israelites, for example. They're called so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today, bywords, while you Amalekite Edomites call yourselves Jewish and Israeli, and you're over in the Holy Land right now. And Cain said unto Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And Yahweh said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set up mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And that mark that was set upon Cain was his melanin being taken away from him, so he would look like a so-called white person. The Cainites were the first so-called white people, and then eventually it came down to the Edomites. And again, you Edomites aren't white, you're red. You're actually clean lepers, as pursuant to Leviticus chapter 13. And as it said, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And then when you go further down to verse 23, it says, and Lamech, another son of Cain, said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. Hey, your father Cain was the first murderer, his children were murderers, and then all the way to you Edomites today, you're vicious, violent, psychopathic murderers. If Cain be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. So it increased. And imagine how much more with these Edomites today. That's why whenever any nation of people goes against these Edomites, the response is always overdone. A perfect example is World War II. The Japanese went to war with the American Edomites, and how did it end? Those 2 atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. But hey, we're living in the times when this protection on you Edomites is about to be taken away. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is strategically and systematically taking away this last rulership of yours. That's why your economies around the globe are on the verge of collapse. Your birth rates are declining. A lot of your people, especially in America, are addicted to drugs and alcohol, and suicide rates are on the uptick. And hey, a lot of these nations are starting to see that you Edomites are the problem. But ultimately, what's going to happen is after you Edomites are taken out of power, you're going to go into slavery under the nation of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and we're going to do double unto you as you did unto us on this side, but it's going to be in righteousness. We're not going to do anything wicked like rape your loved ones in front of you, and it's all A-OK by the Most High, the power you ignorantly call God, whose true name is Yahweh, and the true name of his son is Yahweh Shai, whom you ignorantly refer to as so-called Jesus Christ, and they both take the appearance of so-called dark-skinned Negroes with white woolly afros. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. Talking about you Israelites, and who's the main nation that's troubled the nation of Israel and afflicted them? Those Edomites that have had that perpetual hatred. And when we go to the word recompense in the Strongs, it's G467.
Strong's G467. Antapodidomi. Antapodidomi.
Atapodinami. And what does it say? In a good sense, to repay, required. In a bad sense, penalty and vengeance. And vengeance is exactly what Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai is going to allow the nation of Israel to get on you Edomites for all the wickedness you've been doing in the past, all the way up until today. And now I'm going to close it out in Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 13 to 14. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. This is beginning when World War III takes place, which will be nuclear, and nuclear missiles are shot to the ends of the earth. Everywhere you Edomites dwell is going to be hit with nuclear missiles, but the only place that's going to be wiped off the face of the earth is the United States of America, which is again biblically known as Babylon the Great, as well as spiritual Assyria and spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. 200 million nuclear missiles are going to hit this place, and it's going to be turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. No single Edomite in Babylon is going to survive, and you Edomites that survive in these other countries are going to be the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven, beginning with your elites, like the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, DuPonts, Gettys, Merovingians, you name it, when those 144,000 fishers become hunters and come after you and drag you out of your hiding places and slap chains on you. And since reincarnation is biblical, all you Edomites that were destroyed in Babylon are going to come through the loins of the Edomites that survived. And then after 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery building up the kingdom of heaven, you Edomites are all going to be gathered up and culled from this planet permanently by fire. Verse 14, and I will lay vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people, Israel. Back in 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. So this is a righteous thing to Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. And they shall do in Edom according to mine anger. Like I just said, do double unto you as you did unto us, and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord Yahweh. Point blank, period. And these times are quickly coming upon us. So like we always tell you sincere Akim out there, now's not the time to be getting weak. You should have all 10 toes down in this truth, pushing this word as hard as you possibly can to make your calling and election sure and be that first fruits in the kingdom of heaven, the elect, the 144,000 and the rest of the righteous 1/3 who are going to have first pickings on these Edomites to put into slavery. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.